It is my distinguished honor to ask someone who I value a great deal to come to the podium at this time, Dr. José Ortiz. I think we're lucky. I was hired by this gentleman in 2002. He was our Vice President of Instruction at Laney. And I learned how well administration could work because of his leadership. I learned how well you could trust someone because of his honesty and integrity. I learned how well one can communicate to ensure transparency because of his leadership. So I got a bit of learning, even though he was here too short at the time for my well-being and success. I learned a lot from this gentleman in a short period of time, and I think we're going to find him invaluable to this district. So it's with honor that I thank you for being here and welcome you to Laney College and welcome us all to this new year, but especially welcoming our new Chancellor. Without further ado, Dr. Ortiz.
Thank you very much. Tamika, I knew when you said beautiful and intelligent, that wasn't me. Actually, I do want to thank Dr. Webb for having me here and all of you for indulging me. I think, I feel honored not only being here, but actually I'm in the Odell Johnson Theater. And that moved me as I came across the campus today because Odell Johnson, as Honora said, during my short time here, Odell was the interim president of Laney College. He came out of retirement. And quite frankly, he was probably the one and only mentor I ever had in my professional career. So I am indebted to Odell. He's probably hiding around here somewhere because he's always on the move. But to Odell Johnson, I also pay tribute to, and I thank him. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the new Chancellor. My name is José Ortiz. Thank you. And I have a 20-page speech, so every once in a while I look down, but don't worry, it'll go fast. Some of you are probably wondering, why did I come back to Peralta? Wasn't he smart enough when he escaped 10 years ago? Well, that is true, but for 7 years after I left Laney College, I became the superintendent president at Allen Hancock Community College down in Santa Maria on the central coast of California in northern Santa Barbara County. Those 7 years for me were filled with significant accomplishments. It was a wonderful experience. And quite frankly, I had intended to end my career at Allen Hancock College. I was actually going to retire this year. But as this retirement year started coming into my radar, I looked at myself in the mirror, and after getting over that shock, I asked myself, self, you may look old, but you don't feel old. So the question became, am I actually going to retire? So it was around this time that I became aware of the Chancellor's position vacancy here at Peralta. I thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity for a new challenge. And specifically in a district that not only was I familiar with, but with a community that I knew very well. When I was here at Laney, I lived in the Fruitvale district, in the hood. And of course, I saw it as an opportunity to perhaps coming back to some unfinished business. And I'll talk about that in a little while. I think this is a great time to be at Peralta. thanks to you, and thanks to our interim Chancellor, Dr. Wise Allen, who not only set me up, but set it up so that I think this is the right time for me to have, and with all due respect and apologies to Barack, the audacity of hope. The audacity of hope and the expectations that we together are ready to transform this institution and to return it to its prominence that many of you had experienced in the past among the outstanding community college districts in the state of California. I think this is a great time to be Chancellor, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy that you've brought me here, the Board of Trustees, who I think some might be present today. I know I saw Nikki Gonzalez, Ian. Nikki, you're here somewhere. There you are. Thank you, sir. Cy Galassa, Bill Riley, Linda Handy, Bill Withrow, Marcy Hodge, Abel Guillen. Did I get them all? No? Student, Brian Cervantes, and then, you know, I'm kind of new, so I can't remember. Who else did I miss? Is he here? Sharon? Is Sharon, she here? So then, so if you're not here, you're not going to get named then, you know. So anyway, well, many of you know who I am. From my time here at Laney College, I was Vice President of Instruction. I'm sure there are many of you who don't know who I am, and I wanted to introduce myself by letting you know a little bit about my background, my philosophy, and my vision. I was born and raised in New York City, in a place called Spanish Harlem. I don't know why they call it Spanish Harlem, because there are no Spaniards there. It's full of Puerto Ricans. Well, that's not a bad thing, you know. We Puerto Ricans, we can make it. And, but of course, Spanish Harlem gave, I don't know if you remember, Benny King wrote him sang that song, Rose in Spanish Harlem. Again, it has to do with beautiful intelligence. None of us Puerto Ricans are that, you know, so. But my parents came from Puerto Rico to New York City in 1948. And of course, like so many immigrants, came to this country looking for a better life. Unfortunately for my parents, that never materialized. Both my parents died in poverty. But the one thing that they did still instill in us, their children, was the value and rewards of higher education. And actually, they also pushed the dominance of the English language. So I grew up in a bicultural, bilingual environment. Back then, it wasn't in vogue, it wasn't popular to be bilingual, bicultural, you know, so the nuns in the church wanted to call me Joseph, and we had to fight that for years, but now I'm proud to be bilingual and bicultural. I grew up in New York City during the 50s and 60s, culminating in that great year, 1969. I don't know how many of you recall 1969, but I was already graduated out of high school. I dropped out of college. Yeah, that happens. And I was working on Wall Street. I was just what they call a runner, and that means you're a gopher for the stockbrokers and stuff like that. And back then in Wall Street, the word occupy was not in the vernacular, so we didn't know what that was about. But in 1969, I had the distinguished experience of not only going and experiencing one, not only two, but three ticker tape parades. Now, I don't know how many of you are old enough to know what ticker tape is, but ticker tape was what they used at Wall Street when they used to actually report different earnings, ups and downs of stocks and bonds. In the old days, they didn't have computers, they had ticker tape. So when something fabulous happened in either the city or in the country, they'd have folks down Wall Street. If you've ever been in New York, Wall Street and Broadway is down in lower Manhattan, and they'd have a ticker tape parade, and from the high-rise buildings on Wall Street, we used to throw ticker tape out the window, so it was like confetti, and it was a parade. Well, we had 3 parades. Can anybody remember what happened in 1969 that was so significant for ticker tape parades? Shout it out, huh? Landed on the moon, that's exactly right. Mr. Armstrong. Now, New Yorkers need to know, and will know, the other 2. Oh, there you go. The New York Mets, the fabulous Mets, won the World Series, which was, they went from the woeful Mets in 1962 to the fabulous Mets. And then there was something else in 1969, also a sports team. Huh? The New York Jets won the Super Bowl, the 3rd Super Bowl. They beat the Baltimore Colts. This was when the American Football League got respect because of Joe Namath and the New York Jets. And actually, I'm a sports fan, obviously, and I'll throw in there the New York Knicks of the 69-70 year. They won the NBA basketball championship. But there was another significant event in 1969 that you may recall, and that was the legendary music festival in upstate New York known as Woodstock. And that was peace, love, and music. You remember that. Well, I was one of the half a dozen people that showed up to that. Now, of course, that whole experience is a blur. But I swear I did not inhale. But I found out later that I attributed that experience to loss of hearing. I got too close to those loudspeakers. But it wasn't after many years that I found out about my loss of hearing, and I actually thought it was my wife who lost her hearing. So I went to I was visiting my doctor, and I said, you know, because I'm trying to remember his name, Dr. Shepard. I said, you know, Doc, I think Carmen, my wife, has a hearing problem. But I don't know how to break it to her, you know, because, you know, she's very sensitive, and, you know, these Puerto Rican women, and blah, blah, blah. So he shared with me a little trickery on how to figure this out. So he said, stand behind her someday when she can't see you and say something, see if she hears you. So one day we were at the house, this was years ago, and she was in the backyard working on her tomato plants or something like that. And I got up behind her about, I don't know, 25, 30 feet, and I said, Carmen, what time is it? And she didn't respond. So I said, okay, so I moved up about 10 feet, and once again I said, Carmen, what time is it? And no response. So I got really close to her, right behind her. I said, Carmen, what time is it? And she said, Jose, for the 3rd time, it is 10:15. So, you know the rest of the story. So ever since then, of course, after I got tired of saying, what, and she got tired of telling me, get hearing aids, I swallowed my vanity and went out and got hearing aids. So now what I do when I don't want to hear Carmen is take them out. Anyway, that's a little bit of my personal life. For those of you who even care, you should know that I've been a college administrator for over 30 years. I've been in California for over 20. I was an education administrator at Solano College up the road here. And there I was I started out as a dean for workforce development, moved into vice president and associate vice president of off-campus programs and contract education, workforce development, VITIA back then. So I've had lots of experience, in my estimation, in both the instructional side and student services side. I am an English teacher by trade. I have a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in teaching English as a second language. And my doctorate from the University of Maryland is in education policy, planning, and administration. As I said, I was at Laney College in 2002 to 2005 for 3 years as vice president of instruction. That's when the beautiful and intelligent Honora Webb showed up, and I figured I better get out of town. So I went down to Allen Hancock College, and as I said, it was a wonderful experience. But today I'm back here, and I'm sure everyone wants to know, what do I stand for? What is my vision? And, quote, what is he gonna do? Well, years ago when I was here at Laney, a colleague turned me on to a little book entitled The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. And the Four Agreements talks about an ancient Mexican culture known as the Toltec Nation and how they tried to live their lives in peace and harmony, not only among themselves, but within themselves. And to accomplish this, they subscribed to 3 basic principles, or agreements, one would say. And I'm going to spend a little time just telling you about these agreements because I think it's important for you to understand where I'm coming from. And this, to me, exemplifies pretty much what I strive to be. The first agreement is called to be impeccable with your word. And it means to speak with integrity, to say only what you mean, to avoid using words to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word to direct truth and love. None of that is easy. The next agreement is to don't take things personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others do or say is a projection of their own reality, their own situations. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you will not be a victim of needless suffering. Again, very hard to do. The third agreement is don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just that one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Very difficult to do. The fourth and last agreement is always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you're healthy. It will be different when you're not feeling well. But under any circumstance, simply do your best and avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. So if you want to know what I'm about, these 4 principles I embrace and I strive to practice every day. As I said, all of that is difficult to do. But I have it on my wall. I see it every day because I believe in integrity and truth. And what it means to me is that we respect each other as human beings. None of us are any better than another. Even me as a chancellor, I relate to each and every one of you with respect and dignity. That's what I strive for. I feel very strongly about integrity and truth and trust. I have made it a personal priority to lead a cultural change here at Peralta, where we will do the right thing and do things right. Not easy to do. I've noticed that we either lack procedures or we ignore procedures to the extent that we are our own worst enemy to inefficiency. I've only been here 30 days, and I know it. I want to drive out fear in the workplace. We should be able to tell truth to power without retaliation. I will hold myself and my managers to the highest standards of integrity and accountability. I do not have a personal agenda. I do not have a political agenda. Although I don't know what to tell you about Romney and Ryan, but we'll leave that one alone. My only agenda is to serve you and to serve this community. I have said repeatedly that the role of the district office is to support the colleges. And that's what I will strive to do, is work with the district, the staff, administrators, to support you. And in addition to bringing a heightened sense of integrity and openness to my administration, I have underscored with my staff and those who report to me that we will be a working group. That is, on a real-time basis, act on the operational challenges facing all of us at the Peralta colleges. I'll give you an example of what I mean. I know my time is way over, but I'm the chancellor. Just the other day, a student came to the chancellor's office looking for help. And she went from office to office to office. Of course, she ended up in my office. And I asked her, what she needed, blah, blah, blah. What had she done to resolve her issues? And she told me, well, I went here, they sent me there, who sent me over there, who gave me an email, who gave me a phone number. I said, young lady, come with me. I left my office and walked her over. And this was a student dealing with financial aid, the same problems we all know about. But I took her over to one of our staff and asked the individual to take care of her problem. Do not send her anywhere. Do not refer her to anyone. Take care of her problem. And to his credit, he did, which means we can, right? Sí se puede. So we can do this. You have to be empowered. And I want to support all of you, whether it's in the classroom, behind the desk, support staff. We are here for our students, so we need to resolve whatever they need. Thank you for that. This is what I call the operational challenges. And of course, we have lots of them. I want to give you a little taste, after being here 30, 45 days, whatever, of where I think we have our, what I call burning imperatives. Now, burning imperative means, what rises to the top. Usually an organization, it's a lot better when you have one burning imperative, because it's easy to deal with. But I think we have at least 3. And in the next 40 days, I'll probably come up with another 3. But the first burning imperative, I think it's obvious to everyone, is our accreditation. Our accreditation, as you know, the Accreditation Commission, ACCJC, this past June in their meeting, and we received a letter, kept the Peralta colleges on a warning status. Now, I know that that's a a disappointment to many of us, but when I read the letter and I read the reports, I do believe that we are really at the threshold of resolving our accreditation situation. But the letter from the Commission pointed out 4 areas of the 4 recommendations that we need to address, and I'll just briefly tell you what they are. The first one is that the district must resolve audit findings that still linger. As many of you know, that we've had audit findings from our auditing firm, and the Accreditation Commission felt that we did not have our financial books in order. Well, thanks to Vice Chancellor Gerhardt and his staff, and certainly the Board of Trustees, and some of the people that were brought in to help fix that fiscal situation, we've come a long way, baby, when it comes to our fiscal situation. Nonetheless, the Commission feels that we're not done addressing these audit findings, so that recommendation still exists. The other recommendation from the Commission is they're not confident that we have our long-term fiscal stability issues resolved. Some of it has to do with long-term financial liabilities, like the post-retirement benefits, but we also have, based on the state reduction in our funding, some long-term fiscal issues that we need to address. And again, Vice Chancellor Gerhardt and his staff and all of us are working toward dealing with that. The third recommendation is, again, to finish up the work on board policies. The Commission and the visiting team had recommended that the Board of Trustees and the district and the Chancellor work on reviewing and revising all of its board policies. And as you know, the district has made giant strides with board policies and administrative procedures and trying to reconcile that. But the fact of the matter is that we're not finished. And we have a consultant, Jim Grivich, who's been working on these board policies and procedures, going through the shared governance process. You all have been involved to some extent or other. I think we have somewhere to 30 to 40 policies still to go, but Jim assures me that it can be done this semester. So I feel confident it can happen, and that's where we're going. And then finally, the Commission notes that the 4 colleges, and these are college issues, have not fully evaluated the impact of the financial decisions by the district in terms of reduced funding and the potential, I guess I'll call it windfall of the parcel tax. So there's a planning element in the recommendations that the colleges need to address. And I feel very confident here today that we can address all of these issues. We will continue to work for the next several months. We have faculty and administrators working specifically on these recommendations. They will be coming to you for your input, feedback, and actually help to resolve some of these issues. But we will get there. And I want to thank all of you and encourage all of you for participating and helping in this effort, because for those of you who doubt the Accreditation Commission, you can pay attention to what's going on across the Bay with San Francisco City College. They are having a very difficult time with accreditation. There are colleges around the state who have a very difficult time with accreditation, and we are not immune to that. But as I said, I think we are doing the right thing. We have the right people in charge of working through this accreditation recommendations, and I need your support for them and for us, and it's for our students, quite frankly. The other burning imperative for me is our finances. Now, first of all, congratulations, we passed the parcel tax. So many of you have helped with that campaign and that parcel tax. I want to recognize and thank Matt Goldstein and Abby Brewer. Is Abby here? Abby Brewer and the other union officials, and certainly all of you, including our students who carried out a very successful campaign. We are indebted to you. And of course, we're indebted to this community who passed the parcel tax at 73% approval rate. When I was down in Santa Maria, and you guys used to pass these bonds, I used to tell them, you know, the Bay Area never saw a bond they didn't like. And once again, parcel tax, 73%. That's astounding. And of course, we know this is going to bring to private colleges about $7.3 million a year for the next 8 years. And it is to restore a number of classes, sections, to help our students get the classes they need. It'll also give us an opportunity to hire new full-time faculty and support staff. Of course, this is great news for all of us, and it's also an opportunity for us at the district and the colleges to implement the budget allocation model. I don't know how many of you are aware of our budget allocation, but I know when I was here 10 years ago, the colleges, we'd all complain about, you know, equity and how the district would allocate funding that came from the state. And we needed an allocation model. And to your credit, you've worked, I believe, the last 2, 3, maybe 4 years on creating that model. And with the help of the Planning and Budget Council, you now have a budget allocation model. And like all allocation models, some people gain, some people lose, but it is a model that you put together. So I respect that work. I want to implement that model, because it is coming from you, from the bottom up, to create equity that we've all been yearning for so many years. And of course, it was done within a shared governance environment, and that's what shared governance is supposed to do, is give you an opportunity for input, voice into the decision making, and eventually that voice is heard, and the decisions are in line with your thinking. However, so much of our state budget depends on the state tax measures that are coming in the November ballot. And with that uncertainty, we have budgeted for a worst case scenario. I can't tell you how to vote in November, but I can say that if those tax measures do not pass, we stand to lose an additional $5.5 million. That's the equivalent of about 1,200 FTEs, which means, of course, a reduction. We are planning for that. Now, the parcel tax is going to help restore some of that. But if the tax measure does not pass, the parcel tax is only going to help us restore what we're losing from that $5.5 million. And I believe Vice Chancellor Gerhardt is going to speak to that later on today. But I would tell you that regardless of what happens with that state tax initiative, we will hire at least 20 full-time faculty and several classified staff. And we're moving towards restoring our faculty and classified staff positions, if not all this year, but certainly in the years to come. So I thank you for that. The other area of significant challenge, of course, as you all know, is technology. Now, the technology situation, from what I can gather at this point, is rather complex. And I'm not going to try to explain it all to you today. I will tell you this: technology is just a tool for you, we, the people, to get their work done. I mentioned earlier my concern about procedures and processes here at the district. Deming, I'm a disciple maybe of Deming's law, which means you cannot hold people responsible for their work unless they're clear about what's the process to their work. So we need to have our processes clear to do the right thing at the right time. Once you have that, then you can hold people responsible. And then once you have people responsible, they can help us determine what's the technology they need to be efficient and effective. So technology is coming along. We are hiring a new Associate Vice Chancellor for IT services. His name is Calvin Madlock. Calvin, are you here by any chance? Well, he's here in spirit because he was here last week, and he starts right after Labor Day, and he's ready to get started. He's coming to us from Antelope Valley College, which is down south. I think it's actually in the San Bernardino County. And if you've ever been to San Bernardino, you know why he wants to come here. No. I'm sorry. I know you're from San Bernardino, right? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. My vision for throughout the colleges is a shared vision. It is a vision formulated from the top down and from the bottom up. I will be meeting with our Board of Trustees this September in a retreat to identify their goals and expectations. But I also want to hear from you about how to reinforce the positives and how to change the negatives. With the help of Jeff Heyman's staff, I will be sending out a survey asking you 5 or 6 simple questions. I'll ask you first, what are the 3 things you like about Peralta or your college? I'll ask you, what are the 3 things you don't like about Peralta or your college? I'll ask you, what would you like to change about Peralta or your college? I'll ask you, what are you afraid the new chancellor might do? I'll ask you, what do you hope the new chancellor might do? And then I'll probably throw in a question like, do you have any advice for me? And let me tell you, it works, because I take all that feedback and I will formulate a shared vision, and I will come back to you. I don't know if I'll actually be invited back, but I'll come back to you sharing that shared vision so that we could move forward to, and I know there's a big order for me, to change that culture that's going to make this institution, all of our 4 colleges, the Peralta colleges, be prominent around the state. And in turn, I promise that I will be open, honest, and straight with you. I also expect that from my management team. I promise never to intentionally deceive you, and that my administration will operate in an open and transparent manner. One that is focused on serving the colleges, serving the faculty, and serving our students. My only caveat, I remember I said this 10 years ago at Laney, is that I reserve the right to change my mind. I intend to spend as much time as possible on your campuses. I will get to know your institutions, our programs, our faculty and students as fully as I can. One of the fears I had in taking this position is that I'd be away from a college campus. Being a superintendent president at a single college district, although we had several campuses, one of my pure joys was being out on campus among faculty and students. Well, I'm not going to stay in that corner office over there at the district. I've already blocked out time during my week to try to visit each one of the colleges, hopefully at least once a week. You might see me on campus, talking to faculty, talking to students, having lunch. And if you do, please say hello to me, identify yourself. And as much as I pride myself in remembering names, please don't come up to me and say, "Oh, Dr. Ortiz, you remember me, don't you?" 10 years ago, right? So, no, maybe I don't. Unless you're Eleanor Liu, who kept me out of hot water for all those years, then yeah, I remember. Or Indra, who helped me hone my salsa skills, you know? But otherwise, please introduce yourself, say hello to me. I look forward to doing that. So I come here with my eyes wide open. I've been gone long enough to come in what I think with a fresh view, an experienced view, to do the job of Chancellor. And with your help, we can tackle some of those challenges facing us and truly bring Peralta to a higher level, to be reflective of the high quality of youth, faculty, and staff, and one that truly serves this community and the needs of our students. I look forward to seeing you around campuses. I thank you for all your hard work. I thank you for your support. Have a great semester.